So garden today, 31 May. Squash are starting to form. We had some cool nights and cool days as well in the 60s, and these just haven't wanted to take off very well. Here's my garden today, June 21st. These are my peppers, sweet and spicy. I'm growing, I don't know, 50 or so plants now. They're still survived. And trying to get them, this is a cross between lipstick and my California Bria, which is a Santa Fe Grande dehybridization. And I've crossed those two, and what I want is a very mild, with some heat, Santa Fe type, but I also want it to be really sweet, and that's why I bred lipstick. But I've got a lot of good examples here. I'm going to rule out probably the green ones. They're not as colorful as they change. This is what they look like right now. And again, so many plants to pick the next generation. Here's some along the other side. This one looks pretty promising for fruit size, shape, and color. They're a little bit stunted because I put them out really early, and I hadn't put the drip tape tubing in place yet, so they kind of got plastered. But you can see they're starting to come back, a lot of them. Got a couple small rows of jade. It's a green bean, of course, a bush bean. And they are just beginning to start flowering. I can see the beginnings on some of them, the little buds. And so I'm looking forward to that. Now, here's a okra that came up from last year. I've got them in a different place, that's why I pulled that one. You see the little buds are starting to show. Now this is jade. I ordered jade 2. And there was a little blurb on their website saying at the very bottom of the description, saying they subbed jade out because jade 2 wasn't available. I wanted jade 2. Well, I found jade 2, and these are jade 2. So I'm going to do a comparison side by side. It looks like jade 2 is a little darker in color. I don't know what that means, but I'll keep my eye on it. On this side of the cattle panel trellis, I've got red noodle Chinese long bean here, and this was from my saved seed. I didn't think they would come up, so I went ahead and bought more, but they did end up coming up after several years of being dehydrated and frozen. I'd say about 4 or 5 years, and they still came up great. On the other side is 2 different cucumbers, both parthenocarpic. I've got Diva here and Sweet Success dehybridization I've got going right now. This is going to be my cucumber. I think it's 4th generation. I wanted to bring in some more genetics. So even though Diva is a gynaeceous parthenocarpic, meaning they don't have to be pollinated and they produce almost all female fruits. In fact, both of the plants do. I sprayed some hormones on these when they were a little younger, and they should produce male flowers for a couple months. And the bees will pollinate them with mine here, and then I'll save the fruit, the cucumber, and grow a hybrid of the two to see what it's like. And of course I'll have some of these that will also be I've already got it actually in the other no-weed garden, the next generation of this cucumber of mine. This is that gynaeceous parthenocarpic dehybridization of Sweet Success I started on many years ago. And this is the seed squash. That thing is probably 16, 18 inches and huge, big around here. starting to change color. The seed's probably okay now, but I'm going to let it sit on there until it gets quite a bit more. You can see here some of the fruit here that'll be ready to pick here before too much longer. I got 2 more. And it's kind of surprising that this plant is putting on more to go, more of the babies growing. Because usually when a seeded fruit is on, it kind of dies back, or doesn't die back, but it quits growing. And it kind of starts dying back when this one is fully mature, just starts dying. There are some old leaves on there I need to remove, but as you can see, the fruit is still coming. Those 2 will be nice and plump, big around here. In the next couple days, I'll pick both of those. And then I'll get this one, this seed cucumber, for the next generation, probably in about 2 or 3 weeks, unless it just falls off before then. I planted several of this, I called it Butterball, a couple years back. It's basically, I crossed several different butternut types, and I saved one of them that was round. I called it Butterball. And this one, this plant here, and this one, which I really like, it's got a fruit on it down here. There it is. And I want to create a very short vining round butternut. I think that would be cool. Something I call my own that doesn't really exist. Next to it, all the way down, on both sides here, all the way down, is that cream colored Moon Melon. I have a video on that. This is the next generation of that. It is oh so good. This is also my breeding. And there's a couple small examples in here somewhere. Let me see if I can find one. Here's one coming on right now. It's that color now, but it'll get very light cream color, lighter than the soil right there. I've got several examples of that, and I'm letting them now field cross. That's how I got the Moon Melon to begin with, letting them field cross. And essentially, the 2 varieties that crossed was Ambrosia, which is a very sweet cantaloupe-like melon, with a canary melon, which I think was a canary melon. My Uncle Don gave me the melon. It's similar, it's kind of football shaped, bright yellow, and it had crispy texture to it. Very, very sweet. Well, the Moon Melon took the coloration, kind of the canary melon, even a little bit lighter, and gave me a really sweet, creamy texture like the Ambrosia melon. So it's a cross of both. There's another example coming on here. Really looking forward to this generation. We ate the dickens out of these last year. They were so good. Here's another one over here. It's a little bit more oval shape, but then I'll pick the most. Here's one. It's the shape I want, more round. So anyway, that's my Moon Melon. That's another one I'm working on. Along the fence here, there's 2, 3, 4. I'll bring it in close here. This is my eggplant, and it's got a little bit of weed I want to get out of there. But you see how dark that is? This is, I just did a video on this, and this is the next generation. I almost lost this breeding here, but I managed to get it back. I won't choose this one because it's not dark enough. I like the really dark coloration, including the leaves here. So I've got several of those along this fence here, I think 9 or 10 here. And so once those come along more, I'll share that and make the next selection for the next generation. Out here at the Noe garden, and I wanted to show you the eggplant and cucumber that I talked about out the main garden. This is the mama eggplant, the one I saved, and it's growing great. I've got babies coming on here. There's one. There's 2 more and one in the back up there. And it's kind of hard to see how pretty they are when the sun's not shining. It's kind of late evening, but I got even more coming on here. It's not late evening, here's one over here too. It's early evening, it's just getting dark. And finally, in between here, I've got the corn. I'll do a separate video on the corn. But in between the corn, on these 2 rows, all the way down here, is Madison's Cross. It is a finished, open pollinated squash of mine. You can see it there. This is a fantastic squash. I'm going to pick some squash after this. I'll probably show you what harvest I get out of it today, but we've already probably picked 50 pounds. There's so much squash here. There are several things I like about Madison's Cross. The first is the fruit is phenomenal. It's sweet and buttery like, and the seed cavity is very, very small in the bulb here. I'll see about cutting one open for you to show you if you haven't seen some of my older videos. The other thing about Madison's Cross that I like very much is you'll see here that there's all the way down, there's no spots that I lost. Maybe one right over there, it looks like, to the squash vine borer. And you won't see any squash bugs on these. Usually by now, I'm not saying you won't ever see squash bugs on them, but they just don't like Madison's Cross for some reason. I've grown it right next to Early Prolific and Crookneck and a couple others, and the squash bugs just migrate to those and they leave Madison's Cross alone. So I'm very, very pleased that Madison's Cross is squash bug resistance, because that's one of the banes of growing squash, is squash bugs and squash vine borer. More than anything, squash bugs. Here's a beautiful example. Now, I've already, like I said, I've already got a lot of squash off of this, probably between 2 harvests, maybe up to 50 pounds. And you'll see, if you look over there, there's a lot more that needs to be picked today. A good thing about this is nearly the size of my hand, which is, I'd say that one's about 7 inches. They can get 7-8 inches, and because the seed cavity is so small and the flesh is so dense, they will stay good even at bigger sizes. Really, really neat. Not only that, this is the only summer squash I know of that I can cut them off when they're mature and they will stay good like a butternut. They won't rot like other summer squashes. Now, the value of the flesh after that is not like a butternut. It's more bland. They can be used kind of like lumps of potato or something like that in stew. But still, that's an option. Here's another one, another beautiful. Their shape is fantastic. Their taste is fantastic. I love everything about my breeding here. This is Madison's Cross. All the way down on both sides. I had bee issues. They weren't coming out. And they did that last year or year before also. They got like a little bit of a late start. Maybe because there wasn't any flowers or other pollinators around and they just had to figure it out. But now they're out all the time and they're just keeping the squash and melons pollinated, which I'm very thankful for. I love the bees. You can see some over there. So let me get that harvest and then I'll wrap up what's the latest on the main garden and the various changes I've made. I really like it this year out here. It's done very well for me. This is my one plant. It's kind of weird. I don't know what's causing it, but I'm going to share it because that's what I do. I share what I do. Now I've got several here I didn't harvest, like this one. And let me see if I can find another one here that I saved. Probably that one. Let's see here. This will probably be one. And coming down here to share with you here, this one too. And I'll save probably 5 or 6 different plants. Now these I won't pick anymore. They will become seed squash. And to keep diversity, a little bit of diversity, even though they're open pollinated already, I will keep seed from that many plants, 4 or 5 different. And plus it helps if several of them die later from squash vine borer or something else. But this is my take. today. I would say that's probably 10 pounds, maybe a little more. And I'll cut one open for you, show you what it looks like before we end the video. I have so much growing, I'm even having to dehydrate them. What I'm going to do here is dehydrate them, then vacuum seal them, keep them unrefrigerated, and try it, reconstitute it in a month or two, and see what it tastes like after the majority of the squash that we eat fresh is done. Anyway, it's an idea. These squash, the ones I just picked, we're probably going to dehydrator right there, but I did get an example. Let me set the tripod up here. I did get an example here for you. That's the tripod leg. And I will show you what that looks like cut open. I'll turn the view around so I can see what you see. Turn it up just a little bit more so I can see better. Alright, so this is the size of it, and it is, my hand's about almost 8 inches. So this is probably about 6 inches. And you probably want to wait, in my particular case with this line of mine, Madison's Cross, you don't want to get them much smaller than that because it's kind of a waste. They'll get almost double this size in a day or two for sure. So, like I said, you can pick them even bigger and they'll be quite fine. I'll show you why. Let me cut down the middle without cutting myself. Get through that hard stem first. Just let it slide through. Whoa. Okay. So you can see there that the, let me get the camera, center here is quite small. I bred it that way. There's no crooked neck or early prolific or any of that in this breeding. It's got other lines in it like acorn squash and delicata, believe it or not. But anyway, this is very, very meaty. You'll see, like with an early prolific, I do have videos on it where I do a side-by-side comparison of Madison's Cross to early prolific, but their seed goes way up in the squash like this. And this part isn't solid like that. An early prolific, it's pithy. It's got the darker edges, but the white is very pithy and soft. This is very firm. It doesn't melt down, saute down like other squash do, and it is so excellent. So the seeds, even when it gets larger, it's hard. It's kind of hard to keep the seeds on it, but you can see here, there's not much seed in it at all. So that is one of the things that I bred. I mean, it's just so many wonderful things. I got lucky, to be honest with you. The selection was easy to get all these fantastic characteristics, and so I'm very proud of that. Anyway, I've got over here, as you'll see, as you can see the edge of here, the dehydrator going. I'll keep this one to dehydrate plus all of these, and I want to get a couple, probably 4 or 6 good sized dehydrator bags. Oh, there's a rabbit out there. Anyway, there's a litter of rabbits. Litter? Is that what you call them? Anyway, born here, and they're not very afraid of me. I talk to them all the time. I'm kind of weird. I love animals. Anyway, this is Brent, you guys. Yeah, I'm just loving it. That's just an update for you, and I'll chat with you again soon. Bye. Did you come to see me? Huh? Did you come to see me? Yeah, I know some of you see that as chow. That is not chow, that's my friend right there. And there's a couple other litter mates to him that hang around too. It's funny because they will actually hop up and get near me and just kind of curious of what I'm doing. It's very cute.